Three young women are just relaxing on a sailboat, gliding peacefully across the water. One is preparing to depart, perhaps forever, so they are sharing a touching and poignant goodbye. The wind is soft, everything feels so tranquil, and then it strikes without a single hint of what is to come. The heavens flash a brilliant neon hue, and a genuinely luminous cloud materializes far in the distance. In a matter of moments, the ocean erupts into a frenzy, with waves plummeting down with unbelievable force. The young women scramble in a desperate frenzy to secure the vessel, but the squall is just incredibly ferocious. Only a single one of them survives. The other two are vanished, consumed by nature's unrelenting wrath. Simultaneously, back in the metropolis, three friends are preparing for their weekly gathering, which is poker night at Tano's home. En route, they get caught in a truly enormous demonstration obstructing the thoroughfares. They have no alternative but to alter their course, and in the process, they make a quick stop at a liquor shop for some celebratory whiskey. They eventually arrive at the residence, and Anna, Tano's wife, welcomes him with a beautifully radiant grin. Vicente is present as well, a familiar face at the table, and Lucas is already anticipating their arrival inside. Tano is absolutely thrilled to see his friends Russo and Juan, but his expression shifts immediately. He notices Omar, Russo's brother-in-law, who was certainly an uninvited party. Juan, being the kind soul he is, offers to assist Anna with the garbage. They share a wonderful chuckle about Tano's tendency to collect clutter like outdated phone directories and antique maps. Anna even confesses to secretly disposing of some items without his knowledge, which is quite hilarious. As the evening progresses, the atmosphere is excellent, the banter is lively, and the whiskey pours generously. But then Omar, being excessively curious, begins exploring the house and discovers an exceptionally strange mask. Juan promptly reprimands him, cautioning him not to touch it because Tano is very territorial about his belongings. Abruptly, the mood changes and an odd, distorted noise resembling a downpour seeps into the space. Initially, no one gives it much thought, but then Anna begins shouting for Tano in total distress. Everyone scrambles to the window, and what they witness is truly staggering. There lies Vicente, perfectly still on the ground outside. Tano attempts to dash outside to aid him, but Lucas valiantly intercepts him, warning that there is something amiss with the atmosphere. Anna is frantic, imploring them not to unseal the door, and then, crash, another vehicle smashes into a parked car. The tension escalates dramatically as they all attempt to contact their loved ones, only to discover the phones are entirely non-functional. This is the moment Tano steps forward and assumes command with unmistakable authority, ordering them to secure the house at once. Russo is just descending into a panic, deeply concerned for his family, which is so relatable. Tano attempts to reassure him, but Omar is only making things worse, callously telling him Tano is just offering empty promises. The situation becomes very intense, voices are raised, and then, amidst all the turmoil, Russo makes a frantic dash. He sprints outside and manages only a few paces before he crumples to the pavement, gone in a flash. The entire room falls hauntingly quiet, and Tano, utterly heartbroken, turns to Omar with unadulterated rage in his eyes. Now the entire group is paralyzed by sheer disbelief as the temperature begins plummeting rapidly. Juan's thoughts are spiraling, consumed with images of his daughter Clara and his former partner Elena. And then, amazingly, they hear a rap on the garage door. A female voice is beseeching for aid, and although Tano is hesitant, the others persuade him to open it. It is a young courier named Inga who explains she was mending her bicycle when the snowfall began. They allow her entry, but remain extremely wary because they had expected the delivery person to be male. While this all unfolds, Juan slips away to the garage, frantically searching for car keys to reach his family. But when he at last attempts to start the vehicle, the engine is utterly lifeless, making a truly gut-wrenching noise. Concurrently, Tano observes something deeply disturbing. The snow on the ground is discoloring, as though it were perishing. They spot a live-in neighbor across the way and try to get his attention to caution him against opening his window. But he does, and in an instant, he and his wife fall lifeless, which only fortifies Juan's determination to depart. Tano fully understands and incredibly pledges to construct a protective suit for him from available materials. He even presents Juan with the unique, enigmatic mask they discovered previously. Just as Juan prepares to depart, Omar loses all control and seizes the firearm, demanding the suit for himself. Tano moves with astonishing quickness and neutralizes him in moments, a phenomenal show of skill. No more self-serving nonsense, he declares with an icy resolve that proves he means business. At last, Juan dons the gear, unseals the door, and steps into a city he can barely identify. The landscape is filled with fallen figures on the pavement, a haunting quiet, and that fatal precipitation blanketing everything. His purpose is unmistakably potent. He will find his daughter or perish in the attempt. The second episode begins with a poignant recollection of neighbors on a rooftop lamenting frequent power outages. Just as a person is about to propose a solution, a deafening crash jolts the building as a car collides with the structure. A resident hurries down to inspect the driver, but the moment he steps outdoors, he collapses instantly. Returning to the present, Juan traverses the hushed metropolis, which feels like a vast cemetery. All around him are contorted forms and frozen figures, clear indications of destruction from above. What is truly unsettling him is a haunting, delicate tone, a slight melody carried on the breeze. Several blocks onward, Juan encounters a stranded bus filled with young people who are still living and pleading for assistance. His spirit shatters for them because he possesses only a single mask and is unable to rescue everyone. He provides them with some water, his only available comfort, and must depart with a profoundly heavy heart. Back at Titano's residence, distrust is taking root, and he is now doubting everyone's allegiance. He instructs Lucas to fortify the pains and expresses his misgivings about Inga and Omar, which is so prudent. Inga, a former soldier, is tired of the delay and snatches a helmet, but Tano intercepts her. In its place, he presents a handcrafted respirator he has been developing. What a brilliant intellect! Tano then makes a major breakthrough, realizing that older analog devices are still perfectly functional. He tests this astounding hypothesis by connecting an old radio to a car battery, and it sputters into operation. Juan at last arrives at Elena's building, and they share a powerful, close embrace of unfiltered joy. But the reunion is sadly fleeting because their daughter Clara is absent. The other residents become hostile, demanding explanations in his mask, and the situation erupts. Gunfire erupts as Juan and Elena scramble up the stairs and conceal themselves in a vacant apartment. He provides her with the mask, and they hastily assemble a protective outfit so she can search for Clara. Elena executes a perilous leap from the window to a truck below and vanishes in a flash. Juan remains to create a diversion, shattering a window to wield the frigid atmosphere as a weapon before leaping himself and falling unconscious. At that moment, Tano, Inga, and the rest, now clad in authentic protective gear from a fire station, appear at the location. They discover Juan insensate, gather him up, and place him inside their weathered vehicle. He awakens from a peculiar crimson-hued vision to find Elena in the truck with him. She succeeded. She is alive. The third episode flashes back to recount Inga's story, how she took a delivery shift for her brother as a simple kindness. That single, simple decision ended up determining both their destinies in the most heartbreaking manner conceivable. In the present, Omar, in an act of utter self-interest, purloins the vehicle while Tano is disputing with a resident. He speeds carelessly through the empty avenues before smashing into a huge wreckage. Juan and Elena, in the meantime, at last arrive at Clara's school and separate to look for any clues. Elena discovers a boy named Pablo concealed in a supply closet, the victim of a practical joke with fatal consequences. The youngster misleads them about his address, and upon their arrival, they discover his entire family has perished. They are deceived at a pharmacy by a frantic pair who take their provisions and confine them in a restroom. Fortunately, Pablo was concealed close by and is able to release them after the culprits have departed. Meanwhile, Inga goes back to the park where she last saw her brother and discovers his remains, which is absolutely heartbreaking. Back at the residence, Tano finally receives a transmission on the radio, and the message he hears is earth-shaking. A gentleman in Uruguay informs him the calamity is unfolding there as well, and he has received similar reports from Brazil. This snowfall is not a regional event. It is a genuinely worldwide disaster. Then Tano makes his most frightening revelation yet. The compass is non-functional because the planet's magnetic field has altered. The episode's final scene is positively terrifying as a nebulous form assaults and eliminates the couple who stole from Juan. The fourth episode commences with our survivors conducting a simple, somber memorial for Russo, their sorrow still palpable. Juan, defying expectations, locates the needed address in an old directory from the garbage, a glimmer of genuine optimism. Tano and Juan join forces, resolved to find Clara together before proceeding to Tano's island estate. Their way is obstructed by armed forces who inform them the city center is cordoned off and to await assistance. But Tano is skeptical, and they trail the soldiers only to stumble directly upon something far more terrifying. They are enormous, horrifying insectoids, and they observe in complete terror as one envelops a soldier in a dense, strange webbing. They succeed in fleeing and take refuge in a church where they encounter another band of survivors, which includes Omar. Omar, predictably, at once attempts to sway the others against them with his persuasive words. The group informs them the creatures always seem to appear when the lights are activated, a genuinely alarming correlation. Later, in an astounding display of selflessness, a man named Rango and a nun entice the creatures to the church by sounding its enormous bell. They have doused the sanctuary in paraffin, and as the insectoids converge, they strike a match, igniting in a blaze along with them. The remaining survivors get away, but as they speed off, Juan realizes he has witnessed the burning church before in one of his premonitions. The 5th episode opens with an additional premonition from Juan, this time showing him as a young soldier on a field of conflict. Returning to the present, the group at last arrives in Tano's neighborhood, and Juan enters his home holding his breath. And there she is, Clara, slumbering securely in Elena's embrace, a moment of absolute incredible bliss. Yet, something is amiss because Clara is dressed in the same sailing attire from the opening scene and insists she was never on a boat. Later, Lucas vanishes after hearing a peculiar noise, and then, on the following morning, the snow at last ceases. Just as they are relishing the clear atmosphere, 3 unknown individuals storm their refuge, weapons firing. Juan incapacitates one of them, only to recognize with dread that it is a young mother wearing a locket for her 3 children. Lucas then reappears with troops from a military installation called Campo de Ayo, persuading the group to accompany them. They eventually arrive at the installation, which represents a beacon of stability in this world of utter disarray. The final episode starts with Juan experiencing a terrible dream about the woman he wounded, who gazes at him with profound sorrow. He awakens at Campo de Layo, having lost consciousness, and Tano is extremely concerned about his deteriorating psychological condition. The armed forces request Tano, an electrical engineer, to help in repairing an old radio to reach other survivors. The group resolves to travel by rail to the city's core, but upon arrival, a team vanishes without a trace. The lost team reappears, but they have been altered, their minds controlled, and are now allied with the insectoids. Within their ranks are Inga and, as you might expect, Omar, who has aligned with them. Lucas suffers a total mental collapse, raving about plots before wounding Omar and leaping from the roof in a heartbreaking climax. It is disclosed that the returned party is not human anymore, and they assault without pity. Juan and a few others succeed in fleeing back to the train, but he is unable to dismiss it. He must know what the stadium holds. He and a faithful trooper named Franco proceed there by themselves, and what they uncover is truly nightmarish. The stadium is a conditioning facility for humans who have been mesmerized by the creatures transformed into soldiers for the invaders. And then, as Juan ventures deeper into the stadium, everything falls into place with astonishing lucidity. His premonitions were not forecasts, they were genuine recollections because he has already experienced all of this before. A peculiar tuneful drone saturates the air as the primary being begins to chant a song that manipulates human minds. Juan surveys the crowd of mesmerized prisoners, and then he spots her, his daughter Clara, standing among them, vacant and still.